In late 2025, Zimbabwean lawmakers revived a debate over their welfare by urging government to budget housing loans of up to $150,000 per MP, arguing that rampant inflation has gutted the value of the US $40,000 housing loans granted in 2022, and that MPs require decent accommodation to serve effectively. The most public advocate was opposition MP Charlton Hwende, who made the case during a pre-budget seminar in Bulawayo. His remarks drew sharp criticism across the political spectrum and on social media for being tone deaf amid economic austerity and public service shortfalls. At the same time, legislators are slated to receive upmarket residential stands in Harare's Borrowdale, Marlborough, and Greystone Park, and have also benefited from top-end vehicle allocations, developments that critics describe as part of a broader patronage system. At a pre-budget seminar in Bulawayo in early November 2025, Kuwadzana East MP Charlton Hwende argued that the US $40,000 loans advanced to MPs in the previous parliament were inadequate, proposing a minimum use $150,000 per legislator to complete housing on stands that lawmakers had been allocated. Hwende claimed the ask reflects inflation realities and parity with executive benefits. Detractors saw entitlement and a bid for lavish living at public expense. The US $150,000 figure appeared consistently across multiple outlets, while critics emphasized that the 2022 US $40,000 loan round had already stirred national anger as a misuse of scarce public funds. In parallel, MPs across Zanu-PF and opposition factions were listed to receive prime residential stands in Harare's affluent suburbs, land reportedly repurposed from community use after local government minister Daniel Garwe wrote to councils instructing allocations. Zanu-PF Chief Whip Pupurai Togorepi confirmed the project's scope and rationale. Controversy also attached to vehicle benefits. Legislators were invited to select $60,000 to $70,000 SUVs and pickups, a program criticized for timing and priorities during drought and fiscal strain. Investigations tied the procurement to dealers with ruling party links, intensifying perceptions of capture. Zimbabwe faces a tight fiscal position, with public debt estimated above $21 billion by early 2025, roughly 90% of GDP, and persistent arrears limiting access to concessional finance. Analysts caution that unfunded welfare outlays, including six-figure loans to lawmakers, risk crowding out essential services and widening trust deficits in public finance management. Crucially, repayment risk is non-trivial. MPs have a limited residual term and uncertain re-election prospects, and prior cycles revealed weak loan recovery. A 2012 Herald archive detailed finger-pointing between Treasury and Parliament over recovering vehicle loan arrears, with some lawmakers openly resistant to repayment amid low remuneration, signaling the administrative challenges of enforcing payback. The opportunity cost is acute. Commentators noted in 2022 that the US $40,000 loans across roughly 350 legislators, about US $14 million, could have procured basic medicines or shored up hospitals that routinely report stockouts. With El Niño exacerbated drought conditions and currency volatility still pressuring households, a fresh loan round invites criticism that Parliament's welfare eclipses citizens' needs. In short, absent transparent terms, tenure, interest, security, and robust payroll deduction enforcement, a new facility would heighten fiscal and governance risk while likely underperforming on recoveries. At its October 2025 conference in Mutare, Zanu-PF resolved to extend Mnangagwa's current term by 2 years to 2030. instructing government to draft enabling amendments. International outlets underscored that while Zanu-PF commands a two-thirds majority, any attempt to alter presidential tenure raises constitutional red flags and is likely to face legal challenge. The debate pivots on Section 328 of the 2013 Constitution. Amendments that affect term limits generally trigger a referendum and cannot be applied to benefit the incumbent. Mnangagwa's allies are reported to consider lengthening the current term, Section 95, rather than changing the number of terms, Section 91, arguing this would require only a two-thirds parliamentary vote. Opponents call this a semantic workaround that offends the Constitution's spirit and purpose. A Constitutional Court application filed in early November seeks to block the process, though skeptics warn of possible friendly challenges that might legitimize the project if dismissed, echoing past controversies over judicial independence. Because any amendment must pass Parliament, MP loyalty becomes pivotal. Thus, the contemporaneous perks and loan debates are perceived by critics as part of a strategy to secure votes for the 2030 agenda. Several indicators suggest a patronage logic underpinning current welfare moves. First, the distribution of stands to MPs, including some in opposition factions, arrived barely 2 years after the last housing loans and shortly after outspoken war veteran Blessed Giza threatened impeachment, a juxtaposition that observers read as a loyalty-securing maneuver. Second, vehicle allocations clustered around budget season and were routed through dealers with politically connected ownership, lending weight to claims that state procurement doubles as a party-aligned reward system. Third, beyond Parliament, reporting in early 2025 alleged that food aid distributions and presidential support schemes were deployed to mobilize communities for the 2030 push, with MPs later demanding a ministerial explanation of the scheme's funding sources and beneficiary criteria, an implicit challenge to politicized targeting. While not every lawmaker partakes, some publicly declined stands, the aggregate pattern reinforces perceptions that material carrots are synchronized with constitutional aims. In this view, the $150,000 loan proposal is both an economic claim and a political instrument, one that, if granted, would tighten the principal-agent bind between MPs and the executive during the 2030 vote sequence. Supporters of enhanced welfare insist Zimbabwean MPs are structurally under-resourced, lacking research staff, reliable transport, and decent remuneration, and that better conditions are necessary to hold the executive to account. Opposition voices have also articulated this, framing loans as standard, repayable instruments rather than handouts, and pointing to underfunding of Parliament over many years. They also cite operational hardships, such as delayed fuel coupons that hinder constituency work. In October 2025, an MP controversially linked a colleague's fatal road accident to late fuel allocations, arguing that poor support can carry real-world costs. The public response has been scathing. Former MP Fadzai Mahere said Parliament is a vocation, not a salary-maximizing career, and academics and activists blasted the use $150,000 ask as pathetic and shameful given hospital shortages and drought-exposed hardship. Veteran politician David Coulthard disputed claims that earlier cohorts enjoyed comparable perks, offering salary and benefit context from the 2000s and the 2009 to 2013 period. His rebuttal undermines the everyone got it defense. The backlash has only deepened mistrust over procurement, especially after reporting tied the US 21 NEN Plus car supply to dealers with ruling party links during a humanitarian crunch. Scenario 1. Full concession and fast track, most central case risk. Government accedes to a scaled or even full loan facility, regularizes stands and continues vehicle deliveries. Parliament passes a term length amendment by 2/3. and court challenges stall. This consolidates the 2030 agenda and normalizes perks as instruments of legislative management. Scenario 2, partial concession and delay. Treasury cites fiscal limits, offers smaller loans or staggered tranches with tighter deductions. MPs keep budget brinkmanship alive. The amendment is delayed pending caucus counts and judicial signals, keeping carrots on the table. Scenario 3, pushback or legal roadblock. A decisive court ruling reads Section 328 to require a referendum or bars changes benefiting the incumbent. Internal party fissures harden. Perks escalate in compensation, but the extension stalls. Recommendations. 1. Radical transparency. Publish loan terms, beneficiary lists, repayment enforcement data, subject stands and vehicle procurement to independent audit. 2. Institutionalize support. Replace ad hoc perks with a statutory audited MP support package. Research staff, offices, travel, set by an independent remuneration body. 3. Constitutional clarity. Table a white paper on the legal basis for any term length change and commit to public consultation to reduce legitimacy risk. Zimbabwe's revived MP loan demand is more than a pay packet story. It is a stress test of how public finance, constitutionalism, and party-state relations intersect. On the numbers, six-figure loans for hundreds of legislators in a high-debt, low-trust fiscal environment paired with upmarket stands and premium vehicles invite questions about repayment, realism, and opportunity cost when basic services struggle. On the politics, the synchrony between perk distribution and the 2030 term extension timetable strengthens the carrot and stick reading, material inducements, and the selective deployment of social schemes appear designed to discipline dissent and buy consent at pivotal legislative junctures. Defenders of enhanced welfare make serious points about capacity to serve, and a professional legislature does need predictable, transparent resourcing, but history shows that opaque ad hoc benefits corrode legitimacy and often fail on enforcement. The constitutional bid itself will test institutional independence and the resilience of the 2013 settlement. How Parliament, courts, and the public respond will shape governance norms well beyond 2026. The pathway that best preserves stability and trust is clear: sunlight, rules-based support for MPs, and law-anchored constitutional change, not transactional politics that mortgage the public purse to short-term power calculus. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.